this video I'm going to show you how to aggregate the contents of 3 document libraries where there are different content types used in each one. So first we'll take a look at this library called Library XYZ, and if I take a look at the library settings, you'll see that it has an extra content type called doc type B. And in fact, I don't even show the document content type, so all of the files in this list should use doc type B. And the only difference between that content type and the out-of-the-box document is one column, and it's this column called Mission ID, single line of text. So when we look at the contents of Library XYZ, we see 3 files all have a Mission ID. Then I have this library called Special Document Library. It has an extra column called Favorite Color, and you can see each file has a value in that column. And if we take a look at library settings, we'll see that there's a document type A content type that's included. And there's the favorite color, it's a choice column, and it's part of that content type. The third library that we're going to look at is the Documents library. And this one has 2 files, and I haven't included those extra columns in the main view because although I've added those 2 extra content types, I haven't made them visible. So the reason I've added them is so that if I wanted to, I could include those columns in views, and you'll see that's part of my strategy when creating the Rollup. So what I'm going to do is go to my page in my site where I have my list Rollup schema designer, and I'm going to click New Schema. And I'm going to quickly create a schema. First I'm going to select the aggregation service. For this scenario I can use the SharePoint aggregation service because I'm rolling up contents of lists of similar type. They're all document libraries. The discovery mode I'm going to choose is to select individual lists because I want to select those 3 libraries specifically. And then I'm going to select the 3 lists. So the first one will be the documents, and I'll include it in the Rollup so it shows up here in the middle. Then I will select a second list. That will be Library XYZ. Click Save. Click Include List in Rollup, and then I'll go create the third. It really doesn't matter what order I choose these in. I just need to choose all 3 and include them in the Rollup. So then I'll have all 3 listed here on the middle of the page. The next thing I want to do is choose the columns. When I choose the columns, it's important to select at the top. I can choose any of the 3 lists, but I'm going to choose the Documents library because it has all 3 content types available. Because it has all 3 content types available, I can choose columns from all the content types. So I'm going to choose content type, I'm going to choose favorite color, I'm going to choose mission ID, I'm going to get modified and modified by, I'm going to get name linked to the document and title, and move them all over to the right. And then I'm also going to get the list name and click Save. So those are the columns that I want to aggregate, or the columns that I want to show in my aggregated list of files. Next thing I'm going to do is define a filter. I actually don't want to filter, I want to see everything in all 3 lists, so I'm just going to say all items, click Save. And then the last thing I'm going to do is give my schema a name. So this is going to be files from 3 libraries with different content types. Click Save. If I want to, I can preview the Rollup, and it will show me the contents at the bottom of the page. So you can see here that I'm getting 8 files, so 2 from the documents library, 3 from XYZ, and 3 from special documents. And you'll see the files that have the one content type will have a favorite color. The files that don't use that content type, the favorite color will be blank. So there's our schema. That's just a preview. It's only going to show you the first 15 or 20 files in your Rollup. So the next thing you need to do is create and update your schema to save it, and then pick a web part to display that schema. So in this example, I'm using the List Rollup grid view. It's the display web part that comes with List Rollup. You could also display the contents of this schema in a data viewer web part. I could search for it with an advanced search web part. I could, if I wanted to, display it in a calendar. But here, we'll just call it library files. I'm going to browse to the site where I defined the schema, which is the current site. So there we see the schema we just created. I'm going to choose which columns to display. And so here I'm going to just change the names around a little bit. I'm going to put the name first, then title, then content type, then favorite color, then mission ID, list name I'm going to put last, so then modified by. The sort order I'm going to choose is to sort by the name. Filter, I could put a filter in here, but I'm just going to show everything. I could add some grouping, an item limit if I want to. I'm going to also turn on some grid view settings, so I'm going to allow sorting and export to Excel, and then I'm going to click Show Data. So when the page refreshes, here you see my list of files that I gathered or aggregated from those 3 different lists. These are 3 different content types, but I can aggregate them and show them in the same list. Because I've included the name column, I can click on the name and it's going to open up that file in the native application, depending on how I've configured my document library. So that's how you can use the List Rollup web part to aggregate files from different document libraries that use different content types.